I can't stop thinking about how profound this is, because the way Denzel Washington presents masculinity and fatherhood as the antidote to racism just connects the dots for me in a way that's impossible to unsee.
Do you think we've made any headway in the
I think it's more important to make headway in our own house. By the time the system comes into play, the damage is done. It starts in the house. It starts in the home. And well, my father got locked up. Well, where was his father?
And here's what blows my mind, because Denzel Washington is a first-hand witness of how the civil rights movement impacted the film industry over more than 40 years. And this lesson from him about the importance of a masculine father in the house is impossible to box into some politically conservative or progressive talking point on racism.
Well, it starts in the home. If the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. If the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and prison becomes your home.
I mean, we've heard all kinds of remedies to racism from both the left and the right in this country, but the fact that a young boy needs a masculine role model to look up to transcends all of that. It's in fact the oldest lesson of history, and it's a lesson that's sadly inverted today because the lack of a masculine father figure leads so many young men to idolize some pretty problematic pop culture icons instead.
A lot of this music nowadays, I think, is replacing like mothers, fathers, especially this rap culture.
Yeah. 100%, because who you like more? Your daddy that go to work every day and lame, or a homeboy that's a dope boy with all his money and jewelry and seem popular, famous, got all the women.
Exactly. I see every kid nowadays, they dress just like a rapper.
Right.
The modern day black kid or mother, female growing up, they're being raised by rap culture.
And it's crazy to me that this void of masculinity is not more often addressed as the real core of the problem from either end of the political spectrum. And if I'm being honest, what Denzel Washington said makes even more practical sense to me than Morgan Freeman's words when he said the only real antidote to racism is to simply stop talking in terms of race.
I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
And trust me, I completely understand where Morgan Freeman is coming from. If only the world was as idealistic as us, but it's not. The truth is, Denzel Washington's call for masculine leadership in the household to channel the rebellious spirit of young men borrows lessons from both the progressives and the conservatives in this country. His advice doesn't completely dismiss any systemic injustice that might still exist. He doesn't just throw out random pull yourself up by your bootstraps advice, but he also doesn't remove personal responsibility and blame it all on the racism in history or in society today. Instead, he acknowledges the flaws in the system and then empowers the individual against it. Because his own life is living testament to the fact that responsible fatherhood is the only wrench you can throw in that vicious cycle.
I did talk about my 3 closest friends, and they did, 15 to 25, one did 28, this and that. I was the only one of the 3 that had a father in my life, even though my parents were together. But I still had a father who was a gentle man and a good example, and they didn't. We can blame the system if we want, but they didn't lock any of us up at 7.
Yeah.
We were all doing enough to get locked up at 13. My parents sent me in another direction. They didn't have anybody to help them, and they kept doing what they was doing, and the system got them. So I don't, the system is rigged, but why, all the more reason not to help it.
And that's bang on. Though, of course, there's absolutely nothing you can take away from Denzel Washington's mother. Because if you look at Denzel's early adolescence, you realize he had come dangerously close to becoming a victim to the streets during a rough patch in his life after his parents divorced. But his mother noticed the wrong direction her son was straying, and decided she would even work multiple jobs to make sure Denzel would stay off the streets and finish his high school education. Denzel himself describes that as the decision that changed his life, and acknowledges that he wouldn't have survived the direction he was going otherwise. And with a story like that, he's developed a perspective that's both very personal to him, but also broad enough over time through the most transformative decades for race relations in American history.
Don't you think it is the problem is the racial discrimination?
The right word is not is, was.
Was.
And that's not the only problem. That's one of the problems. Now, you can make it the only one if you'd like, but it's not the only one. But that's a fact. That's a fact. They couldn't play basketball in the NBA. Well, their grandfathers couldn't walk on the sidewalk, or they were slaves. So each generation is trying to do better for the next generation.
And do you feel now things have changed? And
things have been changing. It didn't start this week. I've been in this business 40 years. In the 40 years, things have changed a lot. Things are continually changing for the better.
But when you look now at what's going on outside in the political sphere, and you see the emergence of white supremacists and racists.
You see the emergence. It didn't emerge this year.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is we are regressing in some way.
Right.
Those guys, we thought we eliminated them,
Well, you can't
and suddenly they are
you
back.
understand this. You can't legislate love. You heard what I just said? You can't legislate love. You can change laws, but you can't legislate people into loving you. That takes time, and it depends upon what's going on in their home. You can change the law, but if you go home and teach your son how to hate every day, doesn't matter what law has been changed. Until you teach your son how to love, then the law is not going to change the way your son feels.
What is Hollywood's role in changing that, in ameliorating?
You say Hollywood. There's no place called Hollywood.
You are part of Hollywood.
I'm a part of the human
now.
race. I'm not a part of any system. I'm a human being.
Honestly, tell me if you disagree, but I believe that's the most airtight and bulletproof approach to racism you can have. It doesn't deny systemic injustice, and it doesn't deny the weight and consequence of history, but it also doesn't use those things as a crutch or an excuse. It's an approach that puts family and personal responsibility first, all while developing a view of history so broad that patterns start to emerge that others just don't see. And undeniably, the most important pattern that has emerged is that despite many flaws, this country has done more than any other to try and shed the racist parts of itself, and then tried to unite itself under something that at least approximates a more perfect union. For Denzel Washington, it's time to empower the individual now. For the young man to stay off the streets, for the mother to love and sacrifice for her children, and most importantly, for the father to become a masculine figure that his sons look up to instead of the degeneracy out in the world trying to prey on his mind and destroy his life. If you want a grim picture of what that looks like, watch what rapper Ice Cube exposed about how the music industry preys on young, impressionable minds, and subscribe to Elites Exposed for more.